Hello, everybody. My name is Katrina Power, and welcome to today's session, the Circular Bioeconomy Innovation Exchange, where we're going to focus on waste to value. So pleased to have all of you here today. So on our lineup, we're going to hear from Jack O'Connor, who's the founder and technical director for the BHSL Waste Solutions Company. They're based in West Limerick. And we're also going to hear from Serena Lasai, who's the project officer at Acr Plus, and is also part of the HOOP consortium called it's the Bioeconomy project, a European funded project. And I'll be helping to moderate the discussion today. So before we start, we're just going to run through the agenda and who are the cluster and what is it that we do. So the cluster, the agenda for today is a short welcome. We'll then hear from the presentations, and we do encourage you to ask lots of questions, for the presenters today. Please put your questions into the chat function, and we'd really appreciate as well if you keep yourself on mute until you want to ask a question, so that way we don't hear any feedback or any noise as the presentations are ongoing. And then we're going to have a wrap up just before the end of the session. So who is the Circular Bioeconomy Cluster Southwest? We are a new cluster based in MTU and Munster Technological University at Kerry campus. We promote and develop the circular bioeconomy with an emphasis on both marine and the waste to value thematic areas. What is the circular bioeconomy? I'm sure many of you already know, but it is the production and use of renewable biological resources and the conversion of these into sustainable products and bioproducts like food and feed and bioenergy as well. It's a significant market, and it's expected that 1 million jobs will be created across Europe by 2030. And also, in fact, it's significant in the fact it's a $7.7 trillion market as well. So what does the cluster do? We are a collaborative multi-stakeholder model. We work with industry, SMEs, investors, education, and government. Our purpose is to help the companies grow who are developing new solutions for the bioeconomy. And we do that through strategic programs and services. And by doing so, we help increase the competitiveness of firms locally and internationally as well. We also have an emphasis on fostering skills and talent development in the sector as well. When we look at why cluster models are successful across Europe, we see, of analysis done by almost 3,000 clusters, we see that they're able to produce more rapidly growing startups, more high growth firms, and they account for a number of jobs. Clusters are a high productivity area, and it's something that we want to apply to the bioeconomy in the Southwest. In terms of the activities that we do, so we help with research and development, new product development, market research, commercialization, access to European and Irish networks, marketing promotion, and we work with a number of actors in the Irish ecosystem, whether that's technology gateway centres as part of Enterprise Ireland, with research groups, also with the broader Irish Bioeconomy Network, Bioorbic, and the Irish Bioeconomy Foundation as well, all very important stakeholders. So why are we here today? Well, today is our second edition of the Circular Bioeconomy Innovation Exchange. It's an event that we like to host to be able to showcase what's happening in the region, showcase technology innovations, learn about what's happening in Europe and what could be replicated locally here as well. It's an opportunity to hear from experts and also be inspired and also see what we can do together and collaboratively on our next steps. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over and introduce Jack O'Connor, who's going to present about what BHSL Solutions do.
Thanks, Katrina. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to walk you through the fluidized bait technology is what I was saying to Katrina is what I would do. So I'm just going to share the screen, share here, and take you through. Is that up there now, Katrina?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. All right. So the company has founded back in 2000 on the back of a chicken manure problem in West Limerick. We produce a lot of chicken in this part of the world, 300,000 chickens, broilers a week, which are mostly processed up in Ballyhaunis, Lannan family. There's 3 processors in Ireland. Lannan's in Western Brand in Mayo, there's one in Nobber in Westmeath, and one, the Regan's down in Tonakilty in Cork. So because we had a problem, with manure on land. We had obviously had issues with phosphorus and leaching and nitrogen leaching into the waterways. So there was a ban basically put on manure spreading in West Limerick back in 1998. So I examined the idea of recovering the energy from it with the help of none other the EPA at the time funded a project with the University of Limerick to examine the idea of on-farm fluidized bed technology. So on-farm was important to me because the idea of putting a central plant in Ireland at the time still is fraught with planning and legislative issues and just takes years more than months. By comparison, in the UK, if you wanted to put a small waste plant like this on the ground, there are certain jurisdictions where you can have planning within 14 weeks. That's not the case in this country, as we know. So I'm just going to briefly give you what it looks like inside in one of these modern poultry sheds. Up there in front of you is a shed you could have anything from 30 to 40,000 birds. And I suppose they're all fed the highest quality of high protein diets, soya coming Argentina at 48% protein. So the excrement from these birds is high protein, high energy, and that's what we looked at and targeted. Again, doing it on farm, because if you look at the screen, I'm not sure, can you see the mouse moving there, but that's the heating system traditionally would be LPG gas heating, and quite a lot of it. We would have in West Limerick alone, we would have a 1.4 million fossil fuel gas bill to heat all those chickens. And what we're showing now here is water heaters that will be heated by using the manure as a fuel. So we started out with one on my own farm, and it's evolved to where it's at here now. That's one of the latest installations in the UK, and it's the UK we operate more than here in Ireland, so 220,000 birds. And in the middle is what we call the energy centre. So we store the manure in there. We're top loader feeding it to the fluidized bed, and then the hot water going down to each of those sheds. When I say top loader, that picture shows at the top of the screen how the top loader handling system drags the manure to the conveyor belt. So what I'll do then is just maybe go live to one of these machines that are remotely managed by our people here in Cantor. So we have a guy downstairs that will manage the unit. Let's pick Mon Court. This is 220,000 birds again. So I'm live onto the machine here, looking at bed temperatures of 651 degrees. So the manure is coming in here at the rate of, this is a 750 kilowatt unit, and it'll take anything up to 7 tons a day of manure. It comes in, it's on 650 kilowatt hours temperature of the bed, up to 900 the freeboard. And we look along the graphs and it's straight lines. As we have, the last 10, 15 years, we have fine-tuned all the programming, being able to manage this. Now there's high calorific value in the manure. It's up to 10, 11 megajoules a kilogram, megajoule a kilogram based on the moisture content of it. As I said, it's a high protein diet. But so that's kind of the live operation of it. I'll just flick down here maybe and show you what the customer will see if they click into their unit. That's what they're going to see, the fluidized bed here. A diesel burner will heat the sand to about 700 degrees at the very start, and then the manure is, once the sand reaches that temperature, the manure automatically trickles in. It gains temperature in the bed, and eventually it gets to the required temperature up here at 930. 852 seconds is a regulatory compliance. We operate usually around 920 degrees, and then the hot gases are sucked through a heat exchanger system and then out through a bag filter. So we can see the water coming back from the farm at 65 degrees and going down to the 4 sheds at 81 degrees. And we basically can manage all that system then from our remote base. The idea would be the farmer has little to do with the machine, little as possible. And here we get all the data. So the data comes back for 3 reasons. One, it's powerful engineering data for us to fine-tune our units. Let's look at the graphs. We can say how did the machine perform in the last, let's put in 50 hours. And again, I'm not showing you anything that you see in modern wind turbines or anything else. The remote manageability. But what's important is that we, as an engineering group, PHSL, can have look in, study, analyze all that data. From a regulatory perspective, the regulators want to ensure that you never breach here. And if you do, why, what? And so, and then I suppose from the other perspective, it's the farmer. He's replacing all his fossil fuel gas. Most of his gas is gone, and he's now using his own manure as a fuel. And the ash residue has still got the nutrients. The only nutrient he's lost is nitrogen. Nitrogen is lost in the combustion process. So that's kind of a quick overview of it. I'll just maybe flick onto the heat exchangers, show you what's happening there. The hot gases coming in at 920 degrees, dropping down to 200 as they go through hot water bundles. And you'll see these air blowing lances in there that are cleaning the ash. It's a high ash content material. That's the key really on being able to remove the ash continuously from it. Unlike wood chip, which would have 0.5% ash, chicken manure will have anything up to 8-9% ash in it. So I move on then to share now. Let me see, am I doing this right? Yeah, I'm back then to showing you other materials that we would have trialed, and my job now is looking at in Cantor, looking at other materials. So we will trial sludges, and the first thing we analyze the material to see if moisture content, volatiles, fixed carbon. And once we establish that there's volatiles, fixed carbon, and there's nothing in there, we can then compare it to other materials. Like here we see hens layers manure on the blue. You can see the spent mushroom compost on the orange, compost fines, and then sludge. And we look at the moisture content, the volatiles, the ash, the fixed carbon, and the heating value. So very quickly, we were able to analyze with proximate ultimate analysis what's in there. So if I look at the ultimate analysis, I can see there's plenty of hydrogen in the sludge one, and there's lots of carbon in there. So there should be really no problem in the combustion if there's no hazardous materials in there. And so we have done the trials on sludge and on hen manure, on meat and bone meal, and on a whole lot of different materials. But when I'm analyzing a compost like sludge, this is a more detailed analysis that will show you the percentage of fixed carbon, sulfur, nitrogen. We're concerned on the sulfur. If we have a lot of sulfur, then that leads to oxygen, and sulfur obviously is SOx. That's a pollutant that we want to keep down as low, well, as a threshold on it. And the same with nitrogen. Nitrogen and oxygen in the combustion process will lead to NOx. So we have to control that. Both can be easily enough controlled. In the chicken manure, it's easy to control the sulfur because the calcium and the sulfur react in the fluidized bed. So it negates the amount of sulfur going to the combustion process. So we have low SOx automatically. On the nitrogen, we'd use flue gas recirculation like you would on your car, EFGR on the car. So the flue gas has little oxygen, less oxygen. So it's less chance for nitrogen and oxygen to form on the stack. I suppose the only other thing maybe that I should introduce there is that the regulatory was a big barrier in all this. And we overcame that regulatory barrier with the help of the EPA, our own EPA here, and the Department of Agriculture. I couldn't say enough about the support we got from those two organizations heading out to Brussels to say, look, things like materials like chicken manure is an animal byproduct, not a waste. I have a need for it on my farm, and we convinced the bureaucrats in Brussels that the rules should change, that it be used as an animal byproduct, as a fuel in combustion, rather than incineration as a waste. And they're evocative, emotional words when you put incineration up in anything. You get what you ask for with the reaction. Whereas if I'm not talking about try to cheat with name calling, but if I'm using the fuel on my farm, the manure on my farm as a fuel to heat my chicken shed, and I avoid importing in fossil fuel, and I avoid spreading the manure on the local lands, I tick a lot of the boxes with my neighbours as well. So I'm just about there now, Katrina. So these are the ash. Sometimes people say, are you burning a very valuable fertilizer because it's an organic based? But as I showed earlier, the nutrients come right through in combustion process, bar the nitrogen. So we've got all that phosphorus, P and K, and the new EU fertilizer regulations, which is up there in front of me, and they're actually supporting the idea of recovering phosphorus from materials that we previously would have dumped. So look, if I look at the ash on here, I can see the trace elements, and then down here on the elemental ash analysis, the K2O up at 27.8 and the P2O5 at 25. They're really high. There's calcium, there's magnesium, there's other healthy trace elements in there. So the ash is quite valuable. We haven't valorized the ash value completely yet, other than knowing that it's got a value and we're working on it. So that's my time, Katrina.
Thanks very much, Jack. It's really informative. And it's really interesting. There's Jack's email if anybody wants to get in contact with him directly. It's really interesting to see the company working on low value waste product and how they're trying to work on that into a higher value add product as well, and supporting and developing the economic case fundamentally for it, which is brilliant. And so we're now going to pass it over to Serena Lisai from the Acr Plus and the HOOP Consortium. Serena, can you share your screen, please?
Yeah, can you see?
Perfect. Well, it's coming up now. Perfect, yeah.
Okay. So hello everyone. Thank you, Katrin, actually, to inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here and have this opportunity to, well, represent the HOPE project. I'm Serena and I work at Acr Plus. Acr Plus is an international network of cities and regions, and we promote the sustainable resource management and the transition to a circular economy among our partners all over Europe, but even beyond. And in HOOP, we are a partner of this great project that just started. So it's just at the first phase of this journey, but we already can explain what are our plans. So the HOPE consortium started from a set of challenges that we analyzed. So which is, for example, the fact that in Europe, we throw away 200 kilograms of bio-waste every year, and 75% of this bio-waste is landfilled or incinerated. And of course, all of this is created and is generating a high impact in terms of emission and pollution. And also, of course, from an economical point of view, the impact is quite high. For this, the European Bioeconomy strategy decided to look at the cities as circular bioeconomy hubs. So trying to make the city become this feedstock for like gathering together this bio waste and to produce sustainable bio-based products. So this is basically the goal of the project, to actually, as your webinar is titled, to take the waste and make it a value. So using the waste as resources, and the cities are the best place to do this. The HOPE solution is actually, so the goal of the project is to support 8 lighthouse cities and regions. We decided to call them lighthouses because they should guide this journey, because this sector, especially at the urban level, is quite still new. And the project wants to support these cities in developing large-scale urban circular bioeconomy initiative. And of course, this is just an overview of the financial resources that we have in the project, which is an Horizon 2020 project. So it's financed by the European Union. And we are, as I said, Acr Plus is one of the partners, but actually the partners in the consortium are 23. So it's a very big consortium. It's made of resource institutes, consultancies, and they are actually working together to help these 8 lighthouses cities that are actually already working on innovative solutions to foster this bioeconomy, the urban bioeconomy. These are the expected impacts of the project. So deliver sustainable circular bio-based economy investments, but also create this European network of cities and regions that I will talk a little bit further later, and increase recycling of urban bio-waste and wastewater. These are the two main streams we are working on. Contribute to the creation of green jobs in local economies, so at very municipal and regional level, and of course raise the awareness about the potential of the urban bioeconomy in Europe. This is an overview of the project concept, because we start from, behind us we have three mother projects. We call them like this: Excalibur, Value Waste, and Waste Top, which are other three H2020 projects. So still going on, some of them, and they are reaching the end. And thanks to them, we will receive 15 bioprocesses. So we will work on those. So OP took these 15 bioprocesses to valorize organic fraction of municipal waste and urban waste water sludge. And on top of those, we will support the 8 Lighthouse Cities with the project development, with a project development assistant. I will talk about this a little bit later. And of course, we also accepted the challenge to work on the stakeholder engagement. So just to bring together all the stakeholders and facilitate the dialogue among them. And then the other side of this is the replicability of the findings of the projects, and we will do it through the network of cities and regions that I will explain later. So the 8 Lighthouse Cities and regions are these 8: Albano Laziale, Almere, Bergen, Kyopo, Greater Porto, Munster, Murcia, and Western Macedonia. And they are actually spread all over Europe with different in different territories, landscape, but even with a different economical background and also political background. So it's actually interesting to see how they work in their territories, and they can actually inspire actions in other cities. Regarding the project development assistant, is what we are actually the goal of the project is to provide this to the 8 Lighthouse Cities and regions. And so the idea is to provide them with the technical, economic, financial, and legal expertise that is needed actually to develop concrete investment. So to take the idea and the theoretical to the actual action at a local level. So to transform, we say also all the time, the idea in reality. And as I mentioned before, we also want to, there are some partners in the consortium that are actually working already a lot on the stakeholder engagement, because of course the local, the acceptance also of the idea of bioeconomy is quite important. And we will run 8 Biowaste Clubs, where we will actually put together the stakeholders, as you can see in this image: the academia, research, the society, policy, government, and industry business sector. We will work together to actually define how to create together a circular solution for the cities and regions. And then we have, this is the main part from Acr Plus side, because we are, as a network of cities and regions, we are in charge of creating and managing this network of cities and regions for the whole project. And basically the goal of this network is to facilitate this change of knowledge, because we say, why should we need a network? And basically the goal of creating a network is to work in teams, so to facilitate this collaboration among cities that are actually facing the same urban challenges in terms, of course, of bio-waste and wastewater, and also to inspire innovative solutions to make bio-based products. Just if some of you is interested, we have some criteria, of course, to join the network, and they can be organizations that plan, organize, operate municipal waste management or wastewater treatment at local and regional level. You can see already the map on the right. And so for the moment, we are trying to find members that are municipality, regional authorities, or waste management companies, with wastewater treatment companies. So we always talk about cities or regions, but actually we are also, of course, collaborating with companies that are actually involved in the management of bio-waste and wastewater. And the important part is that they should be willing to improve the local bioeconomy strategy, and but also able to potentially replicate the project's finding. This is the last part, let's say, of the project. So once we will, the other part, we will find some interesting projects, some interesting findings and innovative solution. The network will be the one to spread actually the project finding all over Europe. We have some services for, just for the network, and the main one is the Urban Circular Bioeconomy Hub, which is an online platform that will actually facilitate this exchange of knowledge. And in the platform, we will also, it's still ongoing because it will be launched in 2022. And in the hub, we will also accept other kind of organization, like research institute, that can be interested, because their point of view and their ideas or their action could be interesting for also the network. They will have different, let's say, level of use of the hub, but still they will be, of course, welcome to follow the project. And then we have the circularity label, which is a circular ranking system to understand the correct position of the city regarding to the implementation of circular measure at local level. Then project activities, we are already inviting our members of the network to take part to conferences, to talk about their stories, their experiences, to participate to capacity building events, but even study visits, since we have a part of the budget that can cover the travel expenses. And then as last, the virtual academy, which will be in the hub and will provide resources, papers, or services that can be interested related to the sector of urban bioeconomy, which is actually a sector still new and that needs to be studied more. For the moment, as I said at the beginning, we are just at the beginning of the project, so the network is not, is still starting to be populated by members. And for the moment, we have 9 waste management or wastewater treatment companies and 60 public authorities all over Europe. You can go to the website and you can see the map that is updated every month. This is just the list of the members that are that joined the networks until now, just to give you an overview of the countries actually that we are covering. So it's everywhere in Europe, and we are receiving every day requests. This is, I think, all from my side. I'm sorry if I went over the 10 minutes that you gave me, Catriona. This is my email. I'm here for any question you might have. So yeah, I give you the floor.
Super, thank you so much, Serena. And it's such an exciting project, and I put the Circular Bioeconomy Cluster Southwest into the network of HOOP, just to share learnings alone and to see how we can support and facilitate a bioeconomy here. And Serena, a question for you. You talk about the urban bioeconomy, and as the Southwest region, we have a lot of towns. And so, maybe from, is kind of regions there, what kind of regions are part of it? Do they have a lot of towns, or is it very big cities?
Actually, this is a question we always receive. There are some small towns that are like afraid to join the network, but actually among our criteria, there's not the number of inhabitants, for example, because actually even small city, they have their own challenges regarding bio-waste. So we are very open to any kind of cities, and we have cities with very few small cities, but even regions that cover thousands of inhabitants. So it depends really. And actually, from our side, it's quite interesting to have this difference among cities also regarding to the geography, where they are, like the territories, if they're, as I said at the beginning, if they also related to financial but also political background. So we really accept any kind of city. It doesn't matter the size.
Super, super. And what can I ask another question? Like, why do you find the cities and the regions, why are they so interested in joining? Is it part of their broader policy? Is it European policy? What's driving them to join?
They are actually interested in the topic, and because as I said, the topic is quite new for the cities at urban level, but actually the cities can cover a very important role in moving this, in guiding this transition to a circular economy, especially regarding to bio-waste. So they are actually curious to know more. That's why mainly most of the cities are joining us, and they are maybe starting some strategy at local level related to bio-waste, or just sorting collection, for example, and they are interested to know more and to learn from others that are, for example, doing more things already, and they are more experts.
Super, thank you. Jack, can I ask you to come back?
Yeah.
On video, are you there?
Yeah, in case you think I dodged out, Katrina.
And that's all. So Jack, I have a couple of questions for you, because I've worked in clean tech myself for quite a long time, and it takes, for a new innovation to come to market, it takes time. What kind of partnerships, did you choose to be able to commercialize the technology?
Oh, I was kind of focusing more or less on the technology itself rather than on the company. That look, the challenges were always going to be technical, financial, and regulatory. The three. And the technical may have been the one that I tackled. We with a certain group of people. You have academics, then you need to get industry players. Regulatory, you need to get people like the Department of Agriculture to support, and the EPA, and they have been. And then on the financial, you need to go out and get investment and companies, people that are able to manage that side. So each of those three have their own varying degrees of challenges.
That's true. That's very true. And you mentioned in the presentation that you do a lot of work in the UK. Where else are you operating?
The UK was very kind of lucrative in a way that the renewable heat incentive there made it very attractive for poultry producers to come off the fossil fuel and get onto their own poultry manure. So we kind of got into that stream. So that's, sometimes you have to find the market that suits you. So the UK was a very suitable market. We look around, and we looked at the USA. There's a huge problem there, and then you're trying to stretch your own ability to go that far. But when we're looking now at materials like sludges and that, we look at places where land banks are just not available anymore, and the costs of removal of sludge can be anything up to 100, 120 euro a ton, whatever. That's a driver. So, but right now, it's the UK. We're based on the fluidized beds. We have top loaders based in everywhere from Uruguay to Holland to France. Yeah, we're in a lot of countries with the top loader business, which is a fuel handling business that was bolted onto the FBC.
Great, great. Patrick Barrett, you've raised your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
Thanks very much, Katrina. My name is Patrick Barrett from the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine. So first of all, thanks very much to Jack for the presentation. It really strongly outlines the technology push. There was an issue, and technology was developed to help try to address the issue, and to Serena for presenting, I suppose, the challenge in that the city or regional context, you're seeing an accumulation of bio-waste and wastewater resources that need to be managed in probably large volumes. And really, you're pointing out that there's a need to bring together multiple stakeholders. So I suppose in that context, what I just put into the chat box was that both the Irish EPA and the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine have offered a funding opportunity that will be has a deadline, I think, into July, to examine the idea of sustainable and circular bio-cities, with the idea of that we know these three elements: multiple stakeholders, challenges, and the role that technologies can play. But what we haven't quite figured out how is they're all to come together within the context of a city or a regional area to play a role. And I think we're proposing that we want to get the great minds, including all the people who are on this call, to work together to look at this opportunity. So I suppose just on reflection on that for Serena and Jack, I suppose maybe just a comment on how did they think that we could join up these dots. It's a hard question, and I think we're not there with the answers, but maybe they've taken some steps to engage with others. So I'll just leave it there and just see what their response is or comment is about how we can better develop, because we don't see any other way other than working together.
Yeah, I might take it first, Patrick. Good to meet you, Patrick. I think the solutions for Ireland will be completely different, let's say, for the solutions in France or in Italy or wherever. And that we came across that on the small scale, which I kind of focused on. So if I take something like the Munster region or the Limerick region, you're going to require a range of technologies that complement each other, that are not too innovative, that they're established, and then multiple, as you call them, stakeholders, but multiple, I suppose, suppliers of feedstock. The feedstock people have to be as incentivized as the acceptors of the feedstock on it, and that's the challenge. That there is value in the feedstock, whether we call it waste or animal byproduct. There's a certain amount of value there, but it's multiple uses of the technology. We have one part of it there where we can recover energy and phosphorus or other nutrients. That's just one part of it. We worked with a company in France last year where we took digestate, because Brittany had a problem on the land spreading of digestate, and we found that the digestate actually had a lot of energy value. Even the bugs had worked all the gas to see whatever methane gas and other gases in their job. They didn't pick out a lot of fixed carbon and other volatiles. So there was another technology that could be applied to the digestate. And then we were left with the ash at the end of our journey. And there was another mining process that could have happened with the ash. So there was three technologies that could really valorize what was a problem into three different side streams.
I just may add, well, from our side, I just lost you for some second. I guess my connection is not so happy today. But from our side, of course, working together, as you said, working together is the only path we can actually follow. And from my experience with the old project till now, because I'm I can see is actually that many cities are, even if they are coming from different parts of Europe, they are actually facing the same challenges, and they are asking to themselves the same questions. And it has been quite interesting to see how they are willing to talk with each other and to understand how to actually find the right solution. Of course, technology is the main part of this in this sector, because we need innovative solution and they are related to the technology. But in some cities, they have already some technology and they are working already on some, and they are, I mean, the good part is that on this kind of project, we can see that it actually easier, and this project, they facilitate this exchange. So also working together, even from I don't know, Macedonia together with Finland, I don't know, they could find some common solution, or just to experience some idea and some action. So yeah, Patrick, I agree with you. This is the only path we can follow. And I guess we understood it. I hope so. I'm an optimistic person, so I think we are on the right path.
Does that answer your question, Patrick? Yeah, all good. Thanks very much. Building on that, Serena, I thought it was quite interesting there. You talked about technologies and business models. Are you seeing, are they quite mature, you know, in the cities that are and regions that are rolling them out? Are they mature technologies or are they new and novel?
So it depends from the city. Some lighthouse cities are already working on some technology, but some other they just started the process, and they will be on the network. We have some partners that are actually working on business models. So since it's H2020 project, we will have technology at the end, and we will have to find also a way for the exploitation of the findings and for the publication and communication of those. So it's still on working because we are really at the beginning, but some cities are already, they have already some research institutes working on some technologies. If you go, actually take the chance, if you go to on our website on the OPE project, you will find a specific page related to each lighthouse cities where we explain, we describe the challenges and also the solution that we will work on.
That's very helpful. Thank you. And I guess going back to that, you know, on the business model side of things, Jack, you know, you mentioned that, like, you know, bringing all the stakeholders together, you know, with the feedstock, for example, is very important. But even on, you know, on the technological side of your company, like, and the business model, you kind of have a service element, you know, to what you do as well, when you're, you know, with the analysis and continuously updating, you know, your clients on the actual service of the machine. Can you explain a bit more about the model?
Yeah, I think the model is on a few perspectives. It's on the regulatory one first and foremost. So when we work with the Department of Agriculture on that, their concern is that pathogens of that escaping on, let's say, on a broiler farm, they don't want, obviously, the health and safety of animals and birds and are a priority. So the safety, 852 seconds is a key piece for them, along with all the other emissions from the stack. So when the rules on regulatory rules are put in place, for, you know, this is a step change. And Europe led it by, you know, on the sustainable byproducts regulations, to say we're contributing to the waste hierarchy ourselves by having regulatory barriers so high that we don't allow technologies come in, good technologies, what they call the best available technologies, come in and take on some of these materials that are inside in that waste mountain. So that's how we came into the animal byproduct, because if it'd been used in food in animals, that you know, it's all biological, there's no room for hazardous materials in there. The feed is really controlled, so your feedstock is really controlled. So all the data that we record gives peace of mind to the regulators, to the operators, to people living on it. That's the most important piece on the data. And then the other piece on it, the service that we provide to the producer, is they have real knowledge, more data on the chicken production process. And you know, the clients, from not only the customer that consumes chicken, poultry, but you have the retailers. They put a lot of pressure on, and the pressure now is on climate action, carbon footprint, water usage, electricity usage, efficiency of food production. So all that data is recorded. How many kilowatts thermal did I use to produce? How many, as a result of having improved conditions in the shed now, because I have abundant fuel availability, because it's my own fuel. How else would I use it more effectively? So we see things now like chickens, would you believe this, are hatched out inside in sheds. So 3 days before the little day-old chick pops out of the egg, it can be hatched out in the chicken shed. So that demands increased temperatures in the poultry sheds, match what there would be in a hatchery, to allow that kind of thing happen. And that again is, we are remotely linked. So when our customer rings us to say we have birds arriving on farm next Wednesday, can I actually have the whole heating system turned on 1 week before it. Yeah.
Super. Thanks so much. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up on the discussion, but unless anybody else has any questions they'd like to ask Jack and Serena, I want to say thank you to them both, because it's been really insightful to learn from both, from a technology case study perspective on how to deal with, low value waste and make it into a value add for our clients, and also for, to support climate action, but also to Serena as well, when we're looking at what's a multi-stakeholder approach look like towards bio-waste and for wastewater, and what's happening across Europe. And I think we've all now been pinpointed to some exciting projects there and some lighthouse cities that we can take a look at and see how we can develop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and just talk quickly about next steps. 1 second. Okay. So I just wanted to highlight, if you are a company and you're looking for support around bioeconomy, one of the projects that we're working on with the Irish Bioeconomy Foundation is called Empower Bio. And so what it is SMEs who are part of clusters, whether it's the Irish Bioeconomy Foundation or the cluster here in the Southwest or other clusters, you can join and participate, and you can access tools to enhance investment readiness for your company and technology. You'll also have access to investors regionally and internationally, and you can also get some advice on your business strategy and pitch. And of course, at the cluster here, we do a lot of work as well with in terms of services. And like I mentioned earlier, so if you're interested in getting in touch, please do. What we are doing over the coming month is for the next month or so is that we are developing and finalizing our strategy for the cluster program for the next 2.5 years. So what we're, after today, we're going to host a workshop in 2 weeks' time. And if you're interested, please drop me an email and I'd be happy to include you on the workshop. And what we're going to do is prioritize activities that we can do as a cluster going forward with the multi-stakeholder approach that we talked about today. And so here's my contact details, and my email is here, and the website's there. And if you have any other questions or you want to learn more about what we do, feel free to get in touch. And you also have the emails from Jack and Serena today that were shared, and we can also share them as well, again, if you need them. So I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining, and thanks to Serena and Jack for presenting today. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Katrina.